forever in your hearts and in your frames.
In 1983, India had one TV channel, no cable, no internet, and a cricket team nobody believed in. Then Kapil Dev lifted the World Cup at Lord's. Ten-year-old Sachin Tendulkar watched it and picked up a bat.
Tim Dalker looked out of the game against Australia on Saturday. And a testing time for him.
Streets went empty, shops shut down, an entire nation got addicted overnight. Cricket didn't become a sport that day, it became India's religion. And cricketers, they became gods. 4 decades later, that addiction has been turned into a 100,000 crore business. It's called the Indian Premier League, and the way it makes money is far more interesting than the cricket itself. Now the question is how even IPL makes money. But before that, the most important question is how IPL was started. A billion fans, but cricket only happened 30 to 40 days a year. Random international matches with no fixed schedules. Now, why even these random matches were a problem? Imagine you are an advertiser and you want to reach 500 million people. When do you plan your campaign, right? You can't because you don't know when the next match is. The NFL doesn't have this problem. Fixed season, same time every year, that predictability alone makes it a $20 billion business. Indian cricket had the audience but no product design. One man saw this, Lalit Modi. Imagine watch the NBA in America. City-based teams, private owners, fixed calendars, prime-time entertainment, and thought, why can't cricket do this? He pitched it to the BCCI. They said no for over a decade. Then 2007 changed everything. India won the first T20 World Cup, short format, 3 hours, built for TV. And a rival private league started poaching India's best players after that. The BCCI had no choice. Modi got his green light. January 2008, 8 franchise licenses got to auction. Mukesh Ambani, Shah Rukh Khan, Vijay Mallya, everyone wanted him. Base price $400 million and the final bid was $723 million. 3 months later, the IPL was born. But do you know IPL is not being valued like a sports team anymore? It is being valued like a media asset with built-in cash flows. The IPL's biggest revenue source isn't tickets, it isn't sponsorships, it is not merchandise as well. It is the right to show the matches on your screen. The BCCI does not broadcast anything itself. It sells the right to broadcast to media companies who then monetize those matches through advertising and subscriptions. Think of it like a real estate. The BCCI owns the land, broadcasters leases it, and the advertisers build shops on it. In 2023, the BCCI sold IPL's media rights for the year 2023 to 2027 cycle. The price whooping 48,390 crores for only 5 years. Let me put that in perspective for you. When the IPL started in 2008, Sony bought the rights for 8,200 crores for 10 years. Then Star India paid 16,347 crores for the next 5 years and now 48,390 crores. That's a 490% jump in just 14 years. In 2023, BCCI did something very clever. They split the rights into 4 packages for the first time: TV, digital, non-exclusive digital, and international. This created a competitive tension between the bidders. Two companies couldn't just agree to split it quietly, right? they had to outbid each other on separate packages. Forces Disney Stars and Viacom 18 to bid against each other. Total 48,390 crores, triple the last deal. And here's the detail that shocked the industry. Digital rights were worth more than TV rights. First time ever in Indian sports. But why? Because between 2017 and 2022, Jio put cheap internet into 400 million hands. India went from a country where streaming was a luxury to one where 750 million people watch cricket on their phones. BCCI didn't just sell rights, it designed a bidding war and extracted every rupee the market could pay. Now, this 48,000 crores flows down to every franchise. Each team gets roughly 425 to 500 crores per year from the central pool. Win or lose, full stadium or empty, that money is guaranteed. Which means before a franchise sells a single ticket or signs a single sponsor, it already is profitable. That's the foundation. Everything else in the IPL sits on top of this. Also, have you ever imagined why Tata Group, a company that already has 100% brand recognition in India, pay 500 crore rupees a year just to put Tata before IPL? Because sponsorship at this level isn't about awareness, it is about association. When 600 million people hear Tata IPL every single day for 2 months, Tata isn't buying eyeballs, it's buying a position in your brain. Every evening, every match for 60 days straight. No billboard, no YouTube ad, no Instagram campaign can do that at this scale.
That will be 50! He started the Tata IPL season on 47, and now a few games later.
When DLF took the risk of sponsorship in 2008, the price was only 40 crore rupees, and now it has jumped to 500 crores a year with Tata in 2024, a 12x jump. Because the audience grew, and with it, the value of being the name on the tournament. But the title sponsor is just the biggest team. Below that, the IPL sells attention in slice. Strategic timeout is a 2.5-minute ad break. CI pays crores for that slot. Every boundary graphic on screen sponsor. Every ad over 425 advisor. Not just big brands, small D2C startups buying digital only slots for rupees 50 lakh. The IPL has made live sports advertising accessible to every budget. No dead air, no unbranded moment. Every second of the broadcast generates revenue. Now here's where the story gets wild. In 2008, all 8 teams combined were sold for 5,800 crore rupees. Mumbai Indians was the most expensive at 900 crore. In March 2026, a single team, Royal Challengers Bangalore, sold for 16,700 crore rupees. One team worth 3 times what the entire league cost 18 years ago. And RCB wasn't even the only sale that month. Rajasthan Royal sold for 15,300 crore rupees to a US-based tech entrepreneur named Carl Somani. Why Blackstone, Aditya Birla Group and American investors are paying this much for a cricket team that plays 14 matches a year? Because they're not buying a cricket team, They're buying a share of the central revenue pool. In 2022, Chennai Super Kings became India's first sports unicorn, a cricket team crossing 7,600 crore rupees in market cap. You are not betting on trophies, you are betting on India's attention economy getting bigger. So 40,000 crore comes in from media rights, 500 crores a year from the title sponsor, hundreds of crores from other league level sponsorships. Where does all this money go?
The BCCI keeps 20% of the top for operations. The remaining 80% goes to the central pool, which is split equally amongst 10 franchises. On top, each franchise keeps on its own revenue from jersey, sponsorships, and hospitality. 70 to 75% of that amount comes from the central pool.
So far, this sounds like a perfect business. Guaranteed revenue, growing audience, $1 billion valuation. But there's one problem nobody wants to talk about. 75% of franchise revenue comes from media right deals, and that deal expires in 2027. So back in 2022, the price was driven up because Disney Star and Viacom 18 were bidding against each other. Two giants fighting, that's what pushed it to 48,000 crores. But in late 2024, Disney and Reliance merged. They are now the same company, Jio. So now in 2027, who does BCCI create a bidding war with? Sony, Zee, Amazon? None of them have shown appetite at this level. March 2026 report by Media Partners Asia said it plainly, the next deal may stay flat at the same value. No growth, and per match value could actually drop 13% because the league is expanding to 94 matches. That's not all. Ad revenue growth has slowed from 18% a year to just 7%. The big spending categories that fuel the boom, like edtech, crypto, fantasy games, have either collapsed or been regulated out. And here's what makes this dangerous. Franchise owners who paid 50,000 to 17,000 crores for a team are betting on the next deal being bigger. If it's not, they have overpaid. The IPL isn't in trouble. 1 billion people still watch. Cricket is still the king. But the era of the price doubling every 5 years, that may be over. Well, the smartest franchise owners have already seen this risk coming, and they are not sitting around waiting for the 2027 auction. They are doing something no cricket league has ever done, building global sports empires. Mumbai Indians now owns teams in South Africa, England, and the USA. Kolkata Knight Riders runs franchises in the Caribbean, Abu Dhabi, and Los Angeles. Sunrisers Hyderabad bought a team in England for 100 million euros, renamed it to Sunrisers Leeds. 5 of the 10 IPL franchises now owns teams in at least 2 other countries. But the question is why? Imagine if 75% of your income depends on one media deal in one country. That's a concentration risk. But if you own teams across 6 leagues in 6 countries, you have 6 revenue streams, 6 audiences, 6 broadcast deals. And there's a second layer. These international teams doubles as talent pipelines. Find a fast bowler in South Africa's SA20 for cheap, develop him, bring him to the IPL where he gets sold for ₹10 crores at auction. Exact model European football has used for decades. Feeders clubs feeding the main brand. The IPL started as a domestic cricket tournament. Now it's quietly becoming a global franchise network, with the IPL as the hub and everything else as the sports. So what are the lessons from the IPL case study? The IPL didn't invent anything. Franchise model, NBA did it. Media rights auction, Premier League did it. Celebrity owners already existed. IPL just took every proven idea in global sports and applied it to a market of 1.4 billion people where nobody had tried it before. That's only the right idea, right market, at the right time. So, guys, IPL just started as a cricket experiment. It became a media right business, and now it's becoming a global sports empire. Whether the next chapter is growth or correction, the 2027 auction will decide. But one thing is already settled: the IPL is the most important business story Indian sports has ever produced. If you found this case study helpful, please share it with someone who you think should listen to this. Till then, stay curious, stay geared. I'll see you in the next one.